before finishing the drawing. This is just finishing touch really. Hi guys, thank you for coming back to my channels. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to draw symmetrical classical building, how to divide them into 5 phases, and as I said from the previous video, which I recommend you to watch it, I divide into 3, but in this video I divide into 5 phases, which indicate 5 windows opening on each ground and the first floor. And how to divide them in perspective, because they're quite tricky, because each symmetrical buildings do have odd numbers of windows opening, and divide them into odd numbers quite tricky. But in this one super trick drawing techniques, I'm going to show how easy it is to divide them into 5 phases. Let's have a look, and I hope you enjoy it. Do watch to the end. Thank you. Thank you for coming back to my channels. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to divide the building facade on the side elevation into 5 phases. Basically it's going to be 5 opening windows on with the ground and the first floor in perspective. If you have not seen my previous video, which is a sequel to this, I did it divide into 3 phases. So you have to watch that so you could understand with these following videos. I started with the vertical line, and then of course the diagonal line above on each side, and the front facade will be started the bigger one, so that I can divide into 5 phases. First I need to find the center point in perspective. To do that I need to cross the line from the other end, bottom to the top front, and similar to this apply. Now I find the center point. I mark it with a slightly dot line, so it's not to dictate the whole drawings. Now that I find the center line like this, mark it with a vertical line, and then another diagonal line from that to the end of that bottom to the top of the center point. Because central point in perspective isn't the same as though if it was a flat drawing. Now I do another one there, reverse, just like this. Now where the cross line is the center, another central line of that, where the diagonal line cross each other, that is just another reference. Now this formula I have 4 faces, but this is not the case. Now I found out the center there, I cross that line, and again another diagonal line, and similar to this side. It's quite tricky, just it is important to pay attention to this one. The line cannot be too straight, but that's the best we can do. Just approximately, but much more accurate in terms of dimension, division. Now this is the first dot, that will be the indication of the first phase. Another one there. It's basically symmetrical to that. That's it. So this is the first phase. This one. 2. The third one. There, the 4th and the 5th. Now I have 5 faces. These 5 faces is representing there will be 5 opening windows on each floor and a door on the ground and the first floor. The reason why I did it this way is to make it look correct in proportion when it comes to perspective. Now, of course, start with the previous exercise, started with a central line. This is the beginning of the perspective views without the vanishing point. Each of these lines is very vital. it will become texture of the material property guideline as well for all the information that I need to add into this drawing, such as the windows reference, windows profiling, the opening profiling, the door, and so on. And of course, repeat the same thing. Half, divide them to half, divide them to half, repeat the same process, always in the center of each of these lines, just like this. So it is, before moving forward, because there will be so many lines overlapping each other, I believe it is important to mark the dot line above it to indicate where they are, the faces, before it get lost into this multiple lines. And of course mark the ground floor, the first floor, and the roofing also. Now in this one, I'm going to find the center of the opening. The center of the opening, or the windows opening in this space, the first space. By crossing the line on each one side, where the line cross each other, there will be the center point. Now I'm not going to go using all that, so I'm going to use the top only. That will be to find the end of the opening on each side. By drawing that line vertically parallel with the other lines, as simple as that, just like this. Of course, I repeat the same process to all of each of that faces. The line are getting lost at the moment, but don't worry. When we add more of this line to indicate the bricks, these windows will be visible again. This window opening, the profile line will be visible again. For now, I'm going to add more of this vertical line, just like this. Before I get lost completely in the overlapping of this line, I'm going to put much thicker line on the windows opening, indicate where the head of the window and the bottom of the window in relation to this faces. That's why it is important to have this line first. This line will be the reference, so they are interact with one another, correspond to one another. It's not very clear at the moment, but it is, when it comes to this multiple line, this is the most critical part, where I have to be more attentive before I get lost into this drawing. Now I mark each one of them. The height, the windows opening above will be slightly shorter than the one on the ground. I repeat all the same process, the same way. But with this line, I make it easier, so I know where they are. They all really correspond to each other. Now the next step is I'm going to add more of this horizontal line to accentuate the brick wall. Want to add more to this detail without crossing the opening of this window profile, so opening profile. This window will indicate the more of the brick wall material. Then this window opening, the profile of this window opening will visible again. It's just simply using that method, or middle of the line, center of the line, and not crossing that window opening references, the profile, just like that. You see the windows openings are now visible again. Again, it is very important to press the pen really finely, gently at the moment, to make as clear a line as possible. You can't really make a straight line. I can't really make a straight line myself. My hand will be wavy sometimes, but that is normal. On this side, right side, there will be no opening, because on this exercise is only about to indicate how to divide them into 5 phases, because most of the symmetrical building do have odd numbers of windows opening, and sometimes are quite tricky, but by having these tricks it will make it so much easier to divide them in proportion, and it looks right in perspective without the vanishing point. Now add more line of on the facade to indicate this material property of the building facade. By adding more of this line, these windows opening will visible even clearer. At this stage, it is important to add as much information as possible. All the information needed. You see these windows opening now are even visible, even better. The next step, of course, I'm going to add the another lines, offset that line or window profile lines inward, roughly about in a scale would be around about 100 mils. I'm offsetting them, the lines inwards, to show the thickness of these window frames. And of course that will be the doors. I'm slightly different to add a bit of a decorative or ornamental features at the front, because this will be one of these traditional house in the countryside in England. Then again offset that line inward for the front door. So the next move is I'm going to draw the inside of that window to indicate the thickness, the depth of these window frames, or the thickness of this building structure, rather than just a flat two-dimensional drawing in lines. Simply offset that and on one side, because that's on the left side will be visible as it is in this angle and this side front perspective. And of course indicate the bottom of the window, the stool side of the window is visible because we're looking from above, and where the vertical line met, and just cross that line roughly toward the vanishing point. Assume there is a vanishing point, just like that. And of course the same process on the top of the windows. When you go to the top, you only see the the head of the window that is visible, not the stool, not the bottom of the window. But again, offset at the same size with the one at the bottom. And the next thing is I'm going to add a bit more detail on top of that top windows, between the top of the windows and the eave of the roof. Usually the more of a ornamental features at the top. And this one I'm going to use just the masonry detailing, like a brick wall. But to start that, I mark it with fine reference where the top of the windows, to make it easy, just like that, the center point, create another center point, and repeat the same process, but gently another center point there. More like a decorum between the top of the windows and the eave of the roof. I'm going to add more of that line again, vertical line, to make it more detail, to make it more realistic, to show the thickness of the brick wall. Usually that again, but laid instead of in elongated form, more of a cross form, so you see the short part of the brick wall. Now the next one is to indicate the thicker lines to of this brick, to indicate that brick is actually sticking out, protruding, rather than just similar flat to the rest of the building wall, but more of a sticking out, overhang, rather slightly overhang, to support the structure above, just like this. This one is very, very important to actually have a clean paint, small paint. I'm using 0.1 micron paint, because it's such a small detail, although it's simple detail, but it is important to make a very clean, fine line. The next thing, after I've done that, I'm going to add the roof profile, the eave of this roof. Not too much detail into it, just profile of it. And on the right side, because this line on the roof is out of this completely separate from the initial drawing, so I don't have the center point to refer to, but at this stage it is important to use the eyes measurement to roughly assume there is a vanishing point. Now, just like this, assume there's a center of the roof. I'm using this is going to be a hip roof. This paper is a bit light. Now it's like this. Now that I found the roughly where the roof is, I then start again with to indicate the roofing material rather than just a blank roof. I started with the central line, then of course again the central line. That's how to make my drawing easier. rather than you start with a dense line. Could be the line can be wonky if you started with the close line to start with. So it is important to start with the center line blank wall from each other, then repeat the same process until it become dense, just like this. The next one, I'm going to add the profile of the hips roof. Profile of that hip roof and the top. So it's not just straight line. To be more realistic, the top will be a bit rough. Not straight line, just like this. And of course do the same thing on that rooftop. On this side, the hip roof on the other side here. And this is based on the traditional old building in the countryside or London, some of the old buildings. In the olden days, they do have a chimney to heat up the house before the arrival of the central heating. They're using heat chimney, so I'm going to add this chimney also, just as a to complete this type of building. It's optional for this chimney, but just to make this drawing more reasonable drawings. So now I have all the information I needed. The next step is the next drawing is to hatch them. And in this case, again, I like the light coming from the left side, so that the darker side of this building will be on the right. So for me, I think the best thing to do is to start with the darker side, the dark part of it, by hatching them. In this one, I hatch it with vertical lines and also the cross line. And here it is with all the windows. Now these windows, the doors, the opening becoming much more visible than it was when there was too many lines. Now I'm adding a bit of shade on that also on the window frame to indicate that window is actually sticking out, not just flat window from against the wall. And of course the window apron, under the window apron there. Again, putting darker line at the bottom of that window apron on the ground floor. And of course apply it to all of them. Right, the next step is I'm going to shed that side. To make it look clear, because it's such a big long one, I'm going to put blank paper exactly on that line, just like this. So all my hatch won't come across the other side of that, on the left side of that wall. This will be, it is much to make the drawing a lot quicker. Starting with the hatch now, cross hatch, now I'm doing the vertical one to make it much darker. Just like this. I don't have to do that too much dark at the moment. I will always going back to it again. To make it more interesting, this is optional. I'm going to add the diamond shape pattern of this diamond shape on the brick wall pattern, just like this, to give these interesting features on the front facade of this building. This is the thing about the classical or traditional building. In terms of shape and form, geometrically they are simple, but what makes them fascinating and beautiful to see, to look at, is because there are, most of them always have the all of them have the ornamental features at the front. That what make them so captivating or beautiful to look at, just like this. I think the diamond shape of the brick wall is missing on the other side of the opening in the doors, but I'm going to add that at the end. For now, I'm going to add more lines on the roofing rather than just a one horizontal line. Now I'm going to add the vertical line by adding starting with the center point at the corner, like this, and of course on the other side here. But then of course continue with the central line and repeat the same process until they are overlapping the top of the roof, just like this. Just add a bit more thicker line on the chimney a bit. Make these windows look in the glass much darker. Again, adding more lines, darker line again on each one of them. At this stage, it is just to keep checking, keep looking which one need much darker line, more layer to add before finalizing it, before finishing the drawing. This is just finishing touch really. So of course add that diamond shape. So here it is, my drawings. I hope you like it, and please subscribe. Thank you very much.